you can let me know.
Okay, I think that we'll get started in about another 30 seconds here. And yeah, hopefully nobody gets stung by murder hornets.
One sting a day is enough.
Yeah. Okay, it is officially 11:15. So we will get started. My name is Ben Wimet. I am the Assistive Technology Specialist for the Rutland, Bennington, and Middlebury VR offices, as well as a general core services AT specialist for Southern Vermont. And if we have time, I'll talk about that very briefly.
And I'm Lori Cook. I am the Linking Learning to Careers Assistive Technology Specialist serving Greater Vermont these days. So today, Ben and I are going to talk a little bit, or a lot of it, because we both talk a lot, about assistive technology resources available to students, transition age students.
We talk a lot because we're passionate. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
There you go, Ben. Nice spin.
Question for the group. What is AT? Does anybody want to write that in the chat? And then if we get responses, we'll have Betsy read them out.
It's kind of a big question, I think bigger than people give it credit for. AT as a whole is a really broad topic. So we just don't like to start out a meeting like this, figuring out where people's knowledge lies.
I'll give you a hint. There's really not a wrong answer. There's a definition we're going to share, but there's not a wrong answer.
So this is Cara. Is anybody else having trouble being able to message everybody in the group?
Yeah, no, you can't. You only got the 3 hosts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so let's just talk about it out loud then.
Okay.
So what I was gonna type was AT is anything that helps make a task easier. To be really broad about it.
Yeah, it can be anything from a pokey stick to keep your social distancing to the biggest supercomputer on the planet.
A pokey stick for social distancing. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Or coffee on a cold day.
That's a technical term, pokey stick. So, I have it patented.
I like using a cattle prong better. You just gave me ideas, man.
All right, gold stars to both Cara and Ray.
Don't touch my bubble.
Ben, you want to, there you go.
Yep. So I forgot who's reading this definition. Would you like me to do it or do you want to do it, Lori?
I'll go ahead.
Okay.
So AT, I think Cara, you both nailed it pretty much on the head. It's any item or piece of equipment that makes your life easier, no matter your age, situation, or challenges. It's a lot more common than people think. A lot of people wear eyeglasses, and that's a form of AT, right? There are many forms of AT that can help individuals work around barriers while focusing on their strengths. And these forms of AT can be no tech, low tech, or high tech. So Ben's going to talk a little bit more about that, what we call the tech spectrum next.
And shocker, yep, that's what we're talking about. So no tech it's really simple. The definition is there, but it's basically using or changing what you already have. So a scheduling change, item relocation, seating assignments so that you have the same work environment every day, using desk lights instead of overhead lights. I use this every day myself. My office in Castleton, if I use the overhead light, I have a headache within 5 minutes. If I shut them off and just use a desk lamp, I'm good to go. The low-tech solutions. eyeglasses, stepping stools, pencil grips, walkers, noise canceling headphones, grabbers, magnifier, colored transparency overlays for reading, adding bump dots on remote control that just helps with textures. But again, really, for the most part, really simple, off the shelf, available solutions. Most of these things you can get right off Amazon or Best Buy or Walmart.
Or your local hardware store even.
Yep. High tech, the special purpose computers. So the speech to text software. What we mean by special purpose computers is mainly big, like multi-$1,000 communication devices. Some of the communication software, the head array software, where you can basically there's a beam that follows your eyes, and that's how you type. The speech to text software, the screen and document readers, communication devices, which we talked about, wheelchairs. We're talking about some of the higher end rehab ones, switches and convertible workstations, so stand up desk and all the little fancy things they can do.
We're going to talk about a lot of these. Some of these we won't, but if you have questions, there's a question section at the end. So
Yep.
Just some food for thought, especially given that this is a meeting for transition professionals. One thing we want you to keep in mind is that we often hear that youth are unaware of their own strengths and challenges, and that they're unprepared to advocate for themselves in a college or employment environment. That's really huge. Ben, I think, told me earlier about 60% of his workload involves transition age students, and I am 100% transition age students that I work with. And over and over and over, we have these conversations with students because they're not aware what their strengths are. They're not aware what they need in a post-secondary education environment, and what from the world of high school can follow them into that college or employment environment.
So they might know they have a disability, but they don't know how it affects them necessarily. And that's a challenge. Lori, did you want to say anything else before I so rudely cut you off?
Nope, you're good.
Okay. Something to keep in mind. I'm sure the transition counselors in the room are well aware of this, but colleges and universities are not required by law to provide the tool of your choice. They only need to provide tools that allow for equal access. Me as an AT specialist, again, working about 60% of the time with youth, and Lori 100% of the time, we get a lot of, well, I used Kurzweil in high school, and that's what I'm familiar with. Well, colleges just have to provide you a tool that is the cheapest tool possible that's going to allow you that equal playing field. So it's probably not going to be the $1,200 version of Kurzweil that you're used to.
It doesn't have to be sorry, Ben, I'm interrupting you now.
No, it's fine.
It's fair play. It doesn't have to be the tool that you're used to. They just have to provide a tool. So it's good to know that going into a college environment, so that if they aren't providing the tool that a student is familiar with, that they can gain early access to it to become familiar with it, so they're not learning how to use their tools as they're starting classes.
Okay.
So
Take it, Lori.
we often encourage people to meet with the disability accommodations coordinator, ADA coordinator, whatever role that person, that college identifies. So these are some things to keep in mind that the college will require. They need documentation, your IEP or 504 from when the student was in high school. Assessments forwarded on from schools need to be at least 3 years or newer. I'm sorry, that was worded weirdly. They have to be at least within the last 3 years. Students compete for admission and must be otherwise qualified without consideration of disability. Students participate in the general curriculum of college, and instructors are not required to alter content or goals for courses. So you'll hear a lot, we cannot make modifications, we can only make accommodations, which is a much different world than high school.
So I'm going to talk about this piece. A lot of the time management tools that we use we start with something really simple, Google Calendar, making sure folks have Google Calendar on their phone, know how to set up appointments and reminders for when their assignments are due. Nudge Me is another one that Lori brought to my attention when we were going over this, that just kind of sends you incessant reminders until you've been reminded so many freaking times that you actually just do what you're supposed to do.
Ben.
I need this in my whole life. Procrastination is a problem of mine. There, I said it. Visual timers, we have a nice little visual representation to the right. It's just a visual representation of how much time you have left to complete a task. Using a smartwatch. Again, you can use it much like a nudge me to remind you incessantly to do your work and to do your task. You can use it for a bunch of different time management stuff. Again, Evernote is a place where you can keep all your notes and all your reminders in one place. Mindware is, and I'm hoping I don't have the app confused here, so maybe you can help me, Lori, but Mindware is a good tool to help kind of keep your thoughts organized. I like to think of it as a kind of like a web. When I was in elementary school and junior high, we used to kind of write papers in web formats where we had the big ideas in the middle, and then we had little connecting thoughts.
Graphic organizer, I think is the term.
Yes, that's the phrase I'm looking for. Thank you. Then we have time timers, which I've spoke about previously.
Ben, can you just back up for just a second, please?
Yep.
So on this, I just want to talk about smartwatches for a minute. So they become really important, I find, even more so in the world of employment than post-secondary education. And the reason being for that is a lot of employers aren't so cool with you having your phone out of your pocket in the workplace. But if you have a smartwatch on that can send you reminders, or let's say for a student that has a really hard, or a person that has a really hard time transitioning, you can set a timer to show up on their watch that says, okay, in 15 minutes, it's your break time, or in 10 minutes, break time's over. So that helps people that really have challenges around transitioning. So that can be hugely beneficial.
Good
Okay,
call.
thanks, Ben.
No, good call. Thanks for filling in that gap.
Yep.
That's why we're doing this together.
So tools for anxiety and stress management. So there is no one size fits all answer, right? We all know that, but I feel like when it comes to the world of anxiety, the more tools we have, Andrea, I just saw something, Fitbits. I think it depends upon which Fitbit you have, but you should be able to do that as well in a Fitbit. Back to anxiety. So there are a lot of different things that people can use, and we like to give people as many tools that they need to get through these moments of high anxiety. So some things, these are all just specific examples. Be Calm, Komoso Designs necklace. You can actually, I'm wearing this, it hangs just like a necklace. It looks like a little train whistle. And what this is, there's some It looks like a little train whistle. There's some science out there that says when people are entering that highly anxious state, that their central nervous system is engaged and kind of on rapid fire, if you will. So, and that's directly connected to our breathing. So with this particular necklace, if you will, you actually breathe through it, and it limits the oxygen intake and helps to regulate that respiratory response that tends to move faster when we enter a heightened anxiety state. So that's what this device is for. And along those lines, this is an inhaler. This is actually a B-Calm inhaler. You can see it looks a lot like a regular inhaler that somebody might use for asthma. There's no chemicals, no medication in here. There is a series of filters inside. And what this device does is very much along the same lines as of this. There are even devices out there or apps that people can add to their phones that are directly connected to reports and research. This is just such a huge thing right now that people are really studying anxiety and different interventions to help people kind of ward it off, if you will, if you can feel it coming on early. Meditation, obviously, that's a no-tech possibility just to help calm people and their nervous systems. We've already touched a little bit on smartwatches, and then the next slide, I'm going to let Ben talk about Touchpoints.
Okay, Touchpoints are these little nifty devices. They kind of look like smartwatches without a watch face. So what the heck do these do? Well, you can program them, or actually you hit them, you hit them when you're kind of, when you're feeling anxious and when you're feeling, out of sorts, and the vibrations really help some people kind of, again, get that breathing under control. They're nice little haptic feedback to kind of snap you out of that anxiety-ridden spiral that I'm sure we've all felt from time to time. The last, what are we, 8 months into this thing we call COVID at this point?
What I really like about the Touchpoints is that you can use them reactively, as Ben just described. If you feel that anxious state coming on, you can activate them to get that haptic kind of micro vibration to help center you. But you can also start using them at either end of the day on a regular basis. And there's a theory that doing so will help your body start identifying when things are safe, if you will. So it can have an overall calming experience too. And study tools. So these are just, the pictures on this slide are just icons from some of our favorite study tools apps that we use. So Quizlet, for those of you who aren't familiar with Quizlet, it is huge. Everybody can contribute to it. You can create an account. And it's free. So you can create your own set of flashcards in Quizlet, or you can search by subject matter and look at other people's flashcards, or you can have it quiz you based on subject matter. It's amazing. And it's easy to use. What I really encourage students to do when they're using Quizlet, this is great for your A&P students that need to learn a lot of vocabulary, that kind of stuff. I encourage them to create their own flashcard sets for a couple of reasons. One, you can't always depend that the other guy who wrote the other card set had all the definitions right. But two, it reinforces learning and memory if you're making your own card sets versus just studying somebody else's. Flashcards is just another app that does something very similar. It's just not as comprehensive, if you will, as Quizlet. My Study Life is a great place to keep track of school schedules and calendars. Khan Academy, I highly recommend Khan Academy for video tutorials for anything math and science related. It goes well beyond that. I just feel that its strengths lie within math and science. PhotoMath, if you're not familiar with it. Ben, can you go to the next slide, please?
You read
so
my
PhotoMath, thank you. PhotoMath is amazing. you put the app on your phone, and then what happens is when you turn it on, when you activate the app, it uses your smartphone's camera or your iPad's camera or your tablet's camera, and you can then take a picture of a mathematical equation. So that's what you see in the first picture, the blue with the blue rectangle around it. It's actually taking a picture of handwriting on paper. And then the green slide next shows you how it solved the equation. It'll give you step-by-steps when you click on the red dot, which is the yellow slide. So what I really like about this, I tell students, don't use this when you're with your teacher. You need to access your teacher. They are the best resource. But if you're home and you forgot what your teacher said, this is a great tool to learn how to do the equation step by step. So it's not just giving you the answer, right? I wish that this had existed when I was in high school. I probably wouldn't have graduated with my Algebra 2 teacher kicking me out the door with a D-.
Yeah, I can get that. I was sharing with Lori this morning as we were going over some of the final steps that I was never physically taught to write. So whenever a math teacher asked me to show my work, it was really impossible to grasp that in my head just because I didn't have the ability to do that. With this app, I would have been able to at least memorize what I needed to do by a step-by-step guide visually a lot more and be able to explain that.
Yeah, this is a great tool. We actually, Tracy Rue and I, who was another AT specialist, we presented this to a team of educators from whatever supervisory union is in Stowe. I can never remember, Lamoille South maybe. And there was a high school math teacher in the room that stood up in front of us, and we had it on the big screen, and he tried and tried and tried and could not stump this app. He put in equations and symbols. I'd never seen the symbols before that he was writing, and he couldn't stump it. So it's just super cool, super intelligent, and it can make life a lot easier.
All right, I'm going to talk about some reading and writing tools. Dragon is one that I use every day. It's just a speech to text tool for Windows. That is, if you're I'm what's called a power user. I use it for everything. As I mentioned, I can't write, so I fully rely on it. I have a lot of students that fully rely on it as well, that either are dyslexic, physical disabilities, some other processing disorder or disability, so that it really helps them kind of be able to use their voice as their pencil or their pen, and instead of having to use a keyboard and get stuck with that, or any barriers that may come up with that as well. The Claro Scan Pen is just a wonderful little handy document reader type thing. And then I will let Lori talk about the Irlen, the overlays, and the highlighters, because those are some of her favorites.
So Irlen overlays, Irlen is actually it's a syndrome. It used to be called scotopic syndrome, and now it is called Irlen syndrome. So what it is, it's about how your brain processes information that's received through your eyes. So it's not about your eyes, it's how your brain is acting in response to that information. And Irlen overlays, they kind of remind me, for all of us old folks in the room, of transparencies. Remember transparencies? Except they're all colored. There's 10 or 12 different colors, and what they can do is it's scientifically proven that applying the different overlays can actually slow the brain's response down and help people to better process the information. So really cool, $50 tool, gives you a pack of, I think, 30 different screens or overlays that you can look at. And if anybody wants more information on Irlen, a little shameless plug, if you will, I'm an Irlen certified screener. And I would love to answer any questions that people may have about Irlen offline afterwards.
Lori knows her stuff. If I have somebody that needs an Irlen assessment, I don't even try. I just say, Lori, it's all you.
Highlighters work kind of along the same principle. They look like little rulers or bookmarks, if you will, and they have gray bars, and inside is a color transparent slip. So they can fit in your book as a bookmark when you're not using it. They're not cumbersome, they don't get in the way. But these are great tools for people who tend to drop lines when they're reading.
Yep.
Or too much information on the page can quickly become overwhelming. So this allows them to isolate the line that they're on, and they just kind of drag it down. I know we've all probably seen somebody using like a dollar bill or a paper to drag down the paper so they only can see the line that they're reading. It's along the same concept. It's like $5 or $6 for a box of 5 different colors, and they're hugely helpful.
And you can even make your own. When I was in elementary school, they used to cut out little sections of like a 3x5 card.
Yep.
And that's what I used for a highlighter.
Yep.
Voice Dream Reader is kind of both of our favorite reading app for iPads, and I believe it also works on iPhones, but it's anywhere from a $14 to $19 or $9 app, depending on if it's on sale. And it reads PDFs, it reads
Can I interrupt for just one second? If you go to the next slide, it gives a screen by screen.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome.
Totally forgot.
Teamwork.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Anyway, it's a really comprehensive app for what you get. You can read PDFs. You can see on the second screen there, it puts all your downloads in a nice little library. It can be paired with online book services such as bookshare.org. They have like a free library that you can sign people with physical or disability or reading disabilities up that really would benefit them. It's a really simple form that you can fill out to enable them to use the service for free as long as they're in school. And then if they're not, I think it's something really reasonable, like $25 or $30 a year to use the service. You can change the highlighting colors. You can really customize the voices, speed, pitch. For a $15-ish program, it really is pretty robust. Lori, do you have anything to add in that I forgot?
Oh, I could go on and on about Voice Dream Reader. A couple of things, folks. I've used this a lot with students who are working on getting their permits. And the first experience I ever had in this role was with Voice Dream Reader. I had a student who had taken the permit test 4 times and failed. So I was able to loan her an iPad with this app on it. And I put the learner's permit manual on it. So she was able to hear it and read along as she studied. The first time she took the test after she had the app for 2 weeks, she passed the test with flying colors. So we really have to learn to play to people's strengths is my takeaway from that. She is definitely an auditory processor instead of a visual processor. So once we gave her that auditory piece of information, that was all she needed. And she took off, running. It was a beautiful thing to see. Another thing I just want to keep in mind, I'm trying to be quick. Betsy just gave us a 20-minute heads up. As I'm participating in those CCV accommodation meetings, Voice Dream Reader, $14.95 when it's not on sale. It's worth every penny. What we can do is if a student has a reading disability or a processing disorder and they need the verbal information, CCV ADA coordinators can write in that the student, if the books aren't available in an auditory format, or if they don't have screen readers for their digital versions, they can send PDF versions of a book to a student, and then the student can open them up in Voice Stream Reader and have the text read aloud.
Right.
And that has worked beautifully. It's been really cool to watch that take off and running for kids. It's been really cool. Okay, Ben, sorry.
No, and what I love about this app is just that there's the video, there's the visual and audio piece together. Again, you can change the highlighting colors. You can really do whatever you can dream up. I think it's very appropriate that this app is called Voice Dream, because if there's a need to do something and you can dream it up, you can probably do it within the app. So I'm going to talk about voice assistants really, really quickly. The two main ones that kids will probably use are Siri and Google. If somebody has a real need to use voice assistants a lot and they're not loyal to a particular smart brand, phone brand versus another one, I would really recommend going with Google if they're going to use speech to text a lot, because that engine is a lot better. Siri is getting better, I'm gonna say, but it's not as responsive. It's not as if you have poor cell phone reception, I definitely recommend Google over Siri because it's just more responsive and lives more on the phone. So if you live up in Newport like Lori does and struggle with reception and internet issues, you're still going to be able to dictate your papers effectively. Scanning pens are a kind of low tech to medium tech solution that just allow you to be able to do what it says. You take the pen, you scan a document. If it's a text document, it will read it to you. My one caveat, and I talked to Lori about this before, is if people have a physical disability where dexterity is tough for them, I don't recommend these just because they do require some precise kind of coordination and movement along the page. And then if you're left-handed, there's a left-handed setting that you can change in the pen. It took me forever to find that thing, but it does exist. So
Yeah. I don't love this tool as a study tool, to be completely honest, but where I do find this could be really handy is for our folks, our low literacy folks.
Yep.
They can use this, for instance, to read a recipe that they maybe wouldn't have been able to complete before without having the scan pen available. Or even grocery shopping, or reading brochures, or reading the mail, if that is a need of theirs. It can simplify life a lot.
Or maybe if they're trying to read a really quick application or something. And what I do like about them is they still have a headphone jack. So if you want to plug headphones into them and be kind of discreet about what you're doing, you have the ability to do that.
Yep. And there's also a thesaurus and a dictionary built into a C-Pen. I don't know if we touched on that or not. I got ahead of myself with my Irlen overlays and highlighter slide, Ben.
Well, you know what? Do I have permission to skip it?
Unless anybody has any questions on it right now, yeah.
So, alternative writing options. The pen again is this little thing that kind of looks like a wrench with a point at the other end. It's a little hard to describe how you actually put your finger in there, but you kind of rest your fingers in there, and then your finger kind of goes over the top of it. So the edge of your finger where your nail is at the tip. At least that's how I hold it. And it really helps with fine motor control and just kind of gives you a little bit of a weighted device that you're just naturally fit your hand. It works for left-handed or right-handed folks. Weighted pens, again, They just help with maybe cutting down some tremors and giving you extra weight. Blech, I need another cup of coffee, I guess. Pen and pencil grips, again, just different little things to help you be able to grip pens or pencils differently. Sometimes you can get these custom made from OTs if you have a real specific need. They're pretty good at coming up with solutions for folks. Left-handed writing tools, something near and dear to my heart as a severe left-handed person. You do not want me to try to drive my wheelchair right-handed. It will not be good. Raised line paper. This is just, again, if you have a visual barrier to kind of see where your lines are, it gives you that visual tool to make the lines stand out so you're not writing all over the place. Lori, did I miss anything?
Well done, Ben. Well done.
Thank you.
10 minutes heads up. Okay, so note-taking tools. I am an Apple girl. I love Apple products. So all of these are Apple devices. I believe Notability is available on both platforms,
It is.
Android and iOS. So Nebo is the icon in the bottom right, the little blue with the white N. What Nebo is, it's very similar to Notability in that it's a note-taking app. So you use the Apple Pencil and you can take notes in class. What's really cool about it is you can draw using it, and when you tap on your picture, if you drew a circle, it'll make it a computer-generated circle. If you draw a mathematical equation, it'll do quite similarly to what PhotoMath did. And if it can read your handwriting, I must preface this, if it can read your handwriting, it'll solve the equation for you. It's great for making flowcharts. Something else about Nebo is if you have legible handwriting, once you write out a line, you can double tap it and it will translate it to custom computer generated text. When you're all done taking notes for that class, you can export it and email it to your classmates. If somebody missed class, they can get the class notes and they're not trying to, read your handwriting. It's computer generated, so it's really cool. Apple Pencil is great if you're looking at somebody who is like a design student or just needs to take notes more clearly. Otter is a free tool that you can use for up to 600 minutes per month. It's available on both iOS and Android, and you create an account, but it is free for that 600 minutes. And what it is it's basically an audio recorder that also performs transcription. So you get the audio recording, you get the transcription. Cool thing about it is you can double tap on your screen wherever you want to start in the conversation, and it will start the playback feature right wherever you clicked. So it's really easy, and it's free. It's a beautiful thing, and you're not getting a ton of ads and all of those annoying things that you do with a lot of free apps. So, and you can log in because you're creating an account. You can log into it from your computer too. So it's really cool. Notability, Ben, can you hit the next slide, please? Yep. Notability is another note-taking tool, and Nebo is beautifully simple in its design, in my opinion. Notability is for somebody who really wants to get down into details and the nitty-gritty. It allows so many options, in my opinion, that for some folks, it can actually be overwhelming. But if you're that person who likes the details and the content, it allows you, as you can see in the first screen, the create memorable notes, blue rectangle there's a picture in there, so you can actually import pictures from the web and put them in your notes. You can also access the recording piece, so you can get the audio recording to go along with your notes and Notability. You can, as I said, you can generate your handwritten text into computer generated text, and then you can change the font in here. You can use the camera feature on your particular device with the app open and take a screenshot of a document. So to create a PDF, and then you can actually, once you have a PDF, in the last picture you can see, you can mark up on a PDF. So you can make your own notes. So let's say somebody typed a letter for you and you just want to make some edits and send it back to them, but you're on the train or the bus or whatever, you can just simply scratch it on your device and pop it back, and they can make the edits and get it sent out for you. So it's a great tool. But again, very comprehensive. And I think that one is more expensive. I think that's more in the $25 range for Notability. We're good, 11:55, and we're on the question slide.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Like we've done this before, really.
So does anybody have any questions?
Or comments or things they want to know more about that they would like us to follow up with?
There was a question about Voice Dream Reader that is available on both platforms, iOS and Android.
Yep.
I've already said I'm an Apple girl. I think that the app can be a little bit more clunky in Android, but you know, my heart belongs to Apple.
As somebody that had Android for a while, it is a little bit clunkier in Android.
Yeah.
I have a real quick comment. This is Neil up in Newport. I think that one of the things, looking at this on my end as a business account manager for CWS, sometimes I think employers need to know more about this, because especially right now, employers are, of course, trying to keep their employees. And I think some of this stuff, if they just knew about it, would be a minimal fix to keep some of their employees to stay on board. I've taken a lot back from this. I got a lot of notes, but I really appreciate it because I think that the more I learn, and I've been around for quite a long time, the more I see that the employers, there's some stuff here that's not going to cost a lot of money, but could save some good employees. So thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Neil, you can get those employers to reach out to us. This next slide is just about our core services, and we under our core service agreement that I'm not going to have time to dive into, but I, in my role, working with everybody, can work with employers, can work with anybody at any age, including employers, individuals, their families. I don't need paperwork like Lori does in a referral, so I'm a little bit more accessible in that sense. But yeah, encourage employers to reach out to our 1-800 number or our websites and get in touch with us so we can get the ball rolling.
Thank you very much.
And then
Is it possible to get a copy of the slides so that we have all the resources that are in there?
absolutely.
Yes, I believe Martha, Betsy, can you speak to this? I think Martha Frank of VFN was going to make sure those got out to everybody.
Yes, so I think she's going to make slides from all of the different webinars available to folks, and I'm not quite sure whether it's going to be on the VFN website or whether it's going to be emailed out, but I'm certain in the closing remarks they'll tell us more about that.
Okay, thank you. Just a few last minute thoughts. Transition must-haves for success. We want students to be able to self-advocate and self-disclose when they're talking to employers and or college professionals. They need to be proactive. The sooner they can get tools or they talk to team members about their needs, accommodation needs, whatever the case may be, the better off they're going to be in the long run. So we try to tell them, don't wait until the last minute. Of course, we understand the audience we're working with, and they like to wait until the last minute a lot of times. So understand their disability, know their learning style. ask for what you need. One rule is for sure. If you don't ask, you don't get, right? You're guaranteed to not get unless you ask. So tell them to ask. Worst case scenario, they're going to be told no, but better off to find out for sure. Know the accommodations that work for them. Be familiar with their tools before employment or college. Like I said earlier, it's a lot easier to learn them beforehand than learn them while you're learning what you're there to learn. Explore technology that capitalizes on your strengths and circumvents your special challenges. And that's it for us. Check Ben and I out. So we both provided our emails and our phone numbers. If anybody has any questions or comments, or they want to reach out to us afterwards, happy to connect. Ben?
Yeah, I'm happy to as well.
All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for joining this webinar. As you'll see in the comments or the chat box there, you need to log out of this Zoom and copy the link that's in the chat box to get back into the main presentation to hear the closing remarks.
Thank you for coming today, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Betsy, thanks for being awesome.
Yes, thank you, Betsy.
Great job, guys.
Thanks.
Great job.